watch it.
Tell you what, well, you didn't actually didn't watch?
As soon as I don't watch it any year,
Okay.
but
Are you not basketball, or are you like football or something?
I really like basketball, but the
It's
All-Star
hard to
game has always
watch.
been boring.
Yeah, super boring, like in the last few years. Just like whoever gets them up, like ridiculous points, no defense whatsoever, just silly stuff. All right, so last class we talked about decision making, right? How consumers decide. We say they operate on sort of two frameworks, right? 1 and 2, right? We look at those differentiations. We look at some other methods of how we go about making decisions. So we'll just review that until we get into our last sort of objective here. So we say, hey, there's 2 primary ways that people make decisions. Right, system 1, system 2, say system 1, people make decisions very quickly when they don't have time, usually unconscious, which means you don't make the best decisions. When you do it, automatic responses, everyday decisions, things we need, household items, food choices, right? And they're very error prone. Can lead to a lot of error in judgment and how we spend money, frivolous sort of activities. And other people, or depending on the context of the product, we could say things move slower in system 2, right? More thoughtful, more conscious energy dedicated to that particular brand, product, or service. Effortful, right? Complex decision making, right? Weighing one thing versus the other, putting things in category. Here's the price, here's the quality, here's the make, here's the model of the car, right? Here's the pros and cons. Let me compare with 5 other different alternatives and choices. But very reliable, right? Very reliable. We say this is kind of shortcut thinking, this is kind of shortcut or heuristic. This is more algorithmic, right? What we don't make as many poor choices. So we say within this process of deciding, we need to recognize problem. Hey, I'm hungry. What are my choices? This is going to be slow and methodical. Am I thinking of just McDonald's? And that's where I'm going to go. Or I'm like, hey, I want a fancy restaurant. Let me go and Yelp. Ooh, let me look at the reviews. Ooh, this got 5 stars. Let me take a look at the actual food. How does it really look? Look at the menu. Do I need a reservation? Do I need all that, right? So even with those sorts of choices, we can either be fast or slow, but there's a problem. Right? Hunger could be a problem that needs to be solved. We need clothes. What kind of clothes? Is it professional clothing? Is it everyday wear, casual? Maybe something athletic? How do we go about choosing that? Are we sort of conform to specific brands? Are we open to other things? Right? So then we do our informational search. Do we use Google? Do we use another platform? Do we use word of mouth? We ask people about things. We have that process. And then we have evaluation of alternative. What else is out there that we could possibly buy instead of what's on our mind right now? Could we search for other alternatives? And then we finally make a selection on what we're gonna buy, right? Product choice or service choice. Service is also a product, right? Here they give an example of workouts we want to do, right? So this is a Peloton. So you're like, hey, visit the showroom to explore the Peloton bikes. Why? You're like, well, this is gonna be a lengthy process because 1, Peloton is expensive. 2, Peloton is technical. You wanna know what kind of systems or workout programs they offer on that screen. How does Peloton work, right? What are the different ways to use it before you make such an investment? So this would be rational or slow decision making. Right? You may consider things too, like, oh, they got classes available. Oh, they have accessories I can buy. If you want to buy some Peloton apparel, right? Maybe I need to understand how my body frame, my weight, my body mass index to know what kind of features I need to reach a goal. Then we came to evaluative criteria. So we looked at ranking systems between hypothetical alternatives. We looked at compensatory rule, post-evaluation, and now we're at fast thinking and rule of thumb, right? We see some people have brand loyalty, right? Some people have inertia, some people have habitual decision making, right? Some people are just very impulsive. Habitual would mean, hey, it's no conscious effort, we're impulsive to just buy, we have shiny object syndrome. Whatever appeals to us, we usually act on it, and make those purchases. Others are like, hey, we won't even consider other alternatives dealing with other brands because we are loyal. It's like a real relationship. We wouldn't want to cheat on our brand. So here's a reflection question. Maybe you could talk within your groups. Hey, think of some of the common country of origin effects. Here they give an example of watches and wines, right? We think of watches, is it you want to buy a Swiss watch because you believe the watches made in Switzerland are superior to other watches? Do you think the best sporting gear is American-made sporting gear because we're the best at sports perceptually? Do you think that things made in China are of low quality? Alright. How do you think that country of origin affects? Do you find yourself buying wines from France because we think that the French makes the best wine, right? Or Swiss chocolate, French chocolate, Italian chocolate, or German because we think the Germans maybe make the best chocolate, right? Kobe beef, right? Things of that nature. With Japan, I want you to talk within your group. How do you think these affect your consumer choices, or just consumer choices in general? It may not have to be yours. It could be your observation of the environment out there. And what could brands from other countries do to compete such effects? What can China do to make people change the perception that possibly Chinese products are not that great quality, right? They're just meant to be used for short term, not long term. How can we change that? Maybe even think of the US too. Maybe we have some negative or positive connotations on the products and services that we offer. So I give it about 4 minutes to talk within your groups about these. Think of some examples that you can come up with.
So it's kind of like, you watch like a movie, Swiss watch. Your Swiss watch is awesome. I would say like, he's sitting here, that movie is where it's Drew Garner, where he German chocolate. Yeah. That stuff sucks. It's kind of like. Yeah. People recognize that a lot.
So like there's like some what would like Germany, German companies
Yeah, it's like, negotiating other countries. So it's careful there.
I guess like some of
Yeah. Yeah, send the brand and we can get it. And I know like. There's some days where we first buy that, it might show like Mexico, it's like, you get that reputation, like, it's from this country more, it'll probably be good. You buy one of those?
Honestly, recently, I haven't been like spending.
Sometimes they'll really lean into it.
Yeah. And then also,
Yeah, you see like those ones that have really nice designs, like culture. Usually I see that, that's like slide chips, but I see that one by like, kind of like, really like, it's more like it's probably cheap,
Alright, let's see what we think. Over here.
We were just kind of talking about how, a lot of countries have like certain connotations, like some countries are known for certain things. And if you have a product that like is made in the country with a positive connotation, you could advertise that. And sometimes if you aren't even like, if you're not from that country, you could try to like build a perception with that, like by using imagery from it. Like I was at a store and I saw like a chocolate bar, and Germany's known for having like really good chocolate, and there was like a German flag stamped on the front. But if you read it, it was like made in Poland. So it's like people will try to use the connotations that certain like cultures or countries have to try to advertise like a product.
Yeah. Remember we say, hey, certain categories are part of that fast, quick, and conscious thinking, one of them being chocolate, right? So you're like, hey, the person's not gonna really investigate chocolate that much, you probably would, right? And so if they see the German flag on them, they think, ooh, nice, exotic, German chocolate, must mean quality. But it's a Polish company using the German flag to create the symbolism of superior German chocolate, right? Anchoring onto that. Anything you can think of, Tim?
One thing I had brought up was how a lot of times, like with tortilla chips or just tortillas themselves, they'll kind of lean into like Hispanic or Mexican advertising in the branding. And when I see that, I think that's gonna be a good tortilla, it's gonna be good tortilla chips. But that compared to like the regular brands that don't really go into any of that, and I'm like, it might be alright, but it's probably gonna be the cheaper option.
Yeah, and I feel that way too. I mean, if there's some Mexican tortilla chips or Latin tortilla chips, I think it's better, right? Just perception, they're saying, oh, it's gonna be more flavorful, might be crunchier. It actually may not break when I dip it, right? And I'm thinking American one, like, okay, it's gonna all fall apart, right? It's kind of fragile. So yeah, good example. You know, one I can think of, you know, I'll go sometimes to get some fried chicken, some food or something in the hood, basically. So I'll go to the hood to get some good food, right? So you can get, you know, good soul food, all that. And I mean hood, I'm talking about more kind of like African American hood. So I go there and get food, and if you go in like the convenience store, she's like, you won't find regular Lay's, Chase Ruffle potato chips. You'll find like basketballs. You'll find Lil Wayne potato chips. Like literally Target, it'll be Lil Wayne, it'll be Cardi B, it'll be hip hop people, it'll be athletes, right? Targeting that specific group. And even the flavors would be changed. It might be like extra southern fried barbecue hot sauce chips. I'm like, what? Right? So it kind of shows you that these companies do target to make you think like, ooh, if we put a basketball star or your favorite hip hop artist on a chip, along with some sort of concept of what, you know, we think African Americans eat, that it's gonna taste better, right? That it's actually better quality. And I've tried these chips, they taste like trash, right? Because they don't have the formula that Lay's, Ruffles, you know what I mean? They just don't have that in place. Probably, some of them are owned by Lay's and J's, they just target, you know, segment and have these off brands. But yeah, it just doesn't really, taste the same, but it's like clearly you're targeting African Americans with this stuff. All right, over here. Thoughts? Could you think anything country of origin, like?
So we said we usually purchase Korean skincare. They're mainly known for that. Like they're mainly known for their like
Korean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Their concept skincare routine and like their glass skin. So we usually purchase from there. And also there's a type of mascara that I usually purchase. That's a product from Mexico. So that too. And I feel like they have a certain brand for each country. Like for Korea, it's like skincare. For China, it could be their makeup, like flower nose makeup. And for Japanese, it's their hair care.
Yeah, like, hey, for different parts of makeup and hair, certain countries might you conceptually think do better, right? Like, oh, the Koreans focus on the clarity of white, bright skin. So if you want to have clean skin, right? Flawless skin. Now you start to see all of these companies that just were labeled as some sort of skincare company. Now they have Korean skincare, right? They added the Korean part to it because they know that's effective, right? The perception like, oh, you know, this is superior than something else. Japanese with hair, and you say you have a Mexican mascara.
Yeah, sometimes I purchase also skincare from it. There's a bar called Azufre, I think it's called. Azufre.
Okay.
And it works really well with my skin type because I have combination skin. So I usually purchase sometimes.
So you're like, hey, I'm gonna get the Mexican part because it's better for combination skin.
Yes, and also because my parents recommended it because they
Yeah.
used it before.
Alright, so mom and dad use it, should be good. I trust them, I buy them. And even say L'Oreal, right? French company, we may think that, hey, they do the best when it comes to makeup, right? That the French may do it wonderful. Over here.
So we were talking about maybe like cars, muscle cars, for like America, and then like the Ferrari for like Italy. But then it was also, we were talking about just like different products, like there's like technology and clothing and just jewelry. How if you were to like purchase it from a different country, it might be cheaper than like the original country that you're in. Or like, but it might be like less quality or something.
Okay. Like, well, it's technology, it may be more gimmicky. Like, oh, it has all the features, but the features don't really work that well, right? Like America, limited features maybe, but it works, right? When it comes to electronics. Muscle cars, yeah, we think Corvette, right? We think Camaro, and then we think of Ferrari, Lamborghini, Bugatti, right? These brands, and we think that they do it the best. We think, you know, obviously, Ferrari, Lamborghini is the best of the best. That's why it costs so much, right? We think the cost justifies the means. So we kind of just ignore other countries who make muscle cars, right? Okay, anything else you can think? Anything in France? or in Europe in general that you think certain countries do best?
I think sometimes you have like the brand name chips or just food, and sometimes in France you just have the, for here it will be the Target food or the Walmart food, and actually when you look, it's actually the same company who do all these chips. It's actually really the same, it's just different packaging and everything. So
Yeah.
it's the same, but you just buy the company name or everything. So yeah, usually you can have cheaper things and it's the same taste.
Correct, like, hey, there's the name brand, and then there's the off brand, the store brand. You look on the back of the box and the fine print, you're like, oh crap, they make both of them, right? At different prices with different brandings, different names, different color, different everything, and one is cheaper than the other, right? So you're like, what's the gimmick here? And even if you see, like, even with like, let's say pharmaceuticals or anything else in that category, you're like, oh, contains the active, you'll see the store brand, you see the national brand, you're like, oh, the store brand has a little asterisk, contains the active ingredient that's important in the national brand, right? So it's like, oh, the only thing that matters is that you have this main ingredient, but you'll save on the cost because we don't need to match all the ingredients, that's why it's cheaper, right? So they'll try to tag you with that, so you usually see active ingredient, just like such and such. And even sometimes they put, right, active ingredient can be compared to such and such brand, the name brand in that category. Right, so you're like, well, what's the difference, right? I don't know. Over here.
So, what we were thinking about is, so with consumer choices, right? You don't know much about that other culture, like you don't live there. So basically, whatever perception you think of a, like, let's say Japanese product is based off of like probably your first couple interactions with that culture. It's like, let's say like you meet someone and they annoy the crap out of you. You might not ever buy a German chocolate again.
Yeah.
But let's say like you have a very pleasant experience either watching like a sports game from, you know, a different country or something. I think that those little interactions, cause you know, you don't know much about that culture, I think it really shapes on if you will buy from them or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, think of your initial experiences, can kind of shape how you're gonna view that thing permanently.
Yeah, and I think that what brands can do is kind of like try to get more of those, you know, situations around. So like if that's like showing brands during sports games, more authentic ways of kind of, you know, marketing. Because I think that the like countries that do the worst is when they kind of use influencers and you can tell it's like really forced. Like, man, this like Chinese product is super awesome. Like, well, why don't we just like view that ourselves? You know?
Yeah,
So it's
more
like-
organically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you think about how all that kind of plays into what we support, right? Kind of what we support and how we conceptualize things around the world in terms of their quality, price, superiority in some way. Made in Italy is the classic example, right? Oh, made in Italy, it's gotta be the best of the best. Japanese cars, we think are superior in terms of durability, right? Quality. German cars, we think are the greatest combination of engineering and design. Italian cars, we think are the greatest design period, right? Just all these conceptions we have. Okay, and here's another question that we can talk about in our groups. Hey, when have you made a high involvement decision on the basis of affect, right? So let's go back. Were you in a maximizing mode or satisfying mode, right? we can think of utility versus just satisfying something else other than just pure utility, right? Satisfying, something other than utility. So think of about a high involvement decision that you made. Just tell me kind of the details involved in making that decision. Like, what was important to you when you were making that consumer decision? It could be coming to school, it could be something expensive that you bought. Maybe it was some, other sort of thing. I know some people may have mentioned travel before, things like that. And think about a high involvement decision. Maybe it was a car, right? How did you go about making that, that decision? Were you trying to satisfy something other than maximizing the utility? Or was it just about all sort of utility purpose? So I'll give you a couple minutes too in your groups again.
Is that more of like going to community college? Perception of
built that utility and also the fact that they need it for however many.
Yeah, I think school's a good example. You like, some people want the shortest program, they could care less about quality. Or some people just want the best quality, knowing that it'll take longer, right? Or somebody want cheaper school, and others want something else. Well, like, really, what are you satisfying? You know, is it just purely utilitarian for you, or is it something else?
Because it's.
More cost for people, more atmosphere. That's why it's like a science.
Yeah, everything
I'll
is.
say for me, satisfying because original was because people I got a concert for me. They were thinking about like
When we just choosing
go to school and get my genetics
Initially, I thought what I thought would be easiest job, which would be librarian. And then I couldn't get that, because the attention was just already. And I was like, well, I already know people who work in public safety, so.
I can think of one myself.
It's been, if she's better than most of the other jobs,
She's in the
so that's good.
school just for what's yeah, because she's in
I mean, it can be a good schedule, just kind of depends on the luck of the draw, to an extent.
Yeah, like abroad. Yeah, it's just.
I worked Wednesday evening, so I was working last night, and then, I worked the overnight on Sunday, from midnight till 8 a.m., which is rough, but I don't have any classes to go to, so I have that.
Yeah, just something like this because we have the colleges and
Yeah. Price was a big factor for me.
Yeah, like the
And also, I would
She's also my food
have
I have to get the. This was the one class.
All right, let's see what we get. You know, I thought of something. So living downtown, right? Gold Coast. When I had to find a place, I was like, I don't need that much space, and I don't need a lot of great views, right, and all this stuff. But I ended up living like in a penthouse at the top. So for me, I'm like, it's absolutely not utilitarian. I don't really need it, right? It costs a lot of money. But I'm like, there's something inside that to me is like, I don't care, right? I want that view of the entire skyline, right? I want to wake up seeing the whole city of Chicago. Maybe it's inspirational, motivational for me. And I kind of, it's not that practical, I was saying, right? And so even too, I got 2 small children, so like, where's the, you know, way up here with 2 small kids, right? A balcony too and all that, like, so it's highly impractical, but for me it's such a satisfying thing, like it's just a feeling, living in the penthouse, you know, the building, high-rise Chicago, that I felt like I absolutely needed that, and maybe earned it, you know, as an older person, like, oh, you maybe earned it, right? And you went through all this stuff, you should have, but that's something else. So that was my high involvement decision-making, you know, I had to live a lot of places, so this view versus that view, amenities, pool, all that stuff, but completely frivolous spending, absolutely not utilitarian. Over here.
One of the things I thought of was trying to decide what job I wanted here on campus. And so initially I kind of wanted to go for the library because I figured that was probably gonna be the easiest job I could find. I've worked in food before, so I knew I didn't want to work at any of the food places here on campus. And then I had like public safety as like my backup option. Like I knew people who had worked there, and I was like, maybe if all else fails. And the library was full, and I was like, I don't want to work food. And so I applied for public safety, and I've been working there for, this is my 4th semester.
Okay.
And so it matched up well with like, I stay up late anyway, so I can work the later shifts, and it ended up being a good pick for me.
Okay. Good. And you feel satisfied with that decision making? Right, a lot of thought went to it, right? You thought, you're like, hey, I don't want to work at food, I hate that. Yeah, I worked in food one day when I was like, it was like a pizza / calzone place called Pockets. And my brother worked there as a manager, and I did one day dealing with customers, prepping food. Oh, you didn't get there right, I want more. And I was like, that's it for me. Yeah, I was like, I just don't want to work, you know, messing up with people's food is not pleasant. People don't like that, right? So yeah, I could see how that made sense for you. Over here.
Something I thought about was like, in the high level businesses, like bags, like, you can either pick like a really cheap drawstring that you're only gonna use for maybe like a month, or you can like pick something super expensive that might be like higher quality, or you can pick something that's like super expensive, maybe like not super practical. And for me, like, I had to put a lot of thought into like, oh, okay, if I buy something, I don't want it to like last a month, I want it to last a couple of years. I want it to be something that you can bring around and like goes with a lot of outfits and stuff, so like, that's something that I would put a lot of thought into.
Okay. Yeah, very practical. You know, even some people who buy for clothes, you kind of like, how do you calculate clothing? Some people do cost per wear. Literally saying like, if you bought a plain sweater with no logo, right? You're like, that will never, ever, ever go out of style. You could wear that 20 years from now. Now, if you bought a unique sweater with really cool, it might go out of style, right? Their brand, have a look, or something of the sort. And so some people do very conscious, like, oh, I just buy very solid clothes. I go wear it 20 years from now. So it justifies the cost. I'll wear this 1,000 times. And then other people be like, oh, I buy trendy clothes. You're like, oh, this what's in season. But I throw it away because it's so outdated after 5 months. So you're like, your cost per wear doesn't really justify buying a Gucci or a Prada sweater that you think will be out of style in 6 months and you pay $500 for it, right? And it's so unique that you're like, people will notice that you wear it all the time. So you're not gonna wear it all the time, right? You wear it like special occasions or something. So yeah, some people put a lot of thought into that. They're like, oh, just buy me some simple, plain, no logos, no branding. I can just wear it with anything forever. And other people say, no, I just want the trendy thing. I'll spend $600 on a hoodie with a really cool logo.
I would say maybe, making a huge decision about, moving to a winning program for, athletics and basically a big step, in someone's, decision-making process and, in a way, like what you said, like, worth it, like you deserve it, so like, maybe take that next step into gratification and, what you actually really wanna do with your life. So yeah, I would say that, with that, go into a winning program and you're happy, you're in an area that you like, so it's kind of a win-win and you're not too far from your house as well, so you still get to see your family members who are important to you.
You don't compromise, right? You're like, hey, if it comes to an athletic program, I'm not gonna compromise, right? I'm gonna go to something a program I want to go to, right? In which case you feel satisfied, right? Think about it, if you didn't choose that, you're like, oh crap, after a year I wanna transfer, this place sucks, right? Because you didn't put the much thought into the first place, right? You might just went to the easiest program or something like that. Over here.
So I basically, I said like something similar to what you said about like finding like job opportunities here. I don't wanna work with food, cause I don't really do well with food, like that. I was also looking at public safety, but I didn't think that was the best suited for me. So I went for undergraduate admission. I am a tour guide now.
Okay.
And this is my second semester working as a tour guide for UGA, and I'm basically driving here. But also I was going to say, like, club opportunities, like seeing which clubs you want to be a part of, fitting your schedule. I'm a part of like campus activity board. I'm actually the executive board for that, which is also a very high involvement decision, that I had to think about for my schedule, so now I'm like extremely busy. But I'm also part of Latino Student Union and art club, so I thought that was like some of the high involvement basis positions.
Yeah, so that's a lot of decision making, right? Because you're a person who wants to be involved in the university, right?
Yes.
You're gonna have stuff going on with the school that you attend, instead of just showing up to class, leaving, going home, not being involved in nothing. All right, good example. Anything you can think of?
Yeah, I was thinking that a kind of motion decision that I made, was I wanted to really come here to the US. Because when I was in Mexico, I was, I think, in my second year of high school. And I was thinking if I go to the US, there's a lot of opportunities for me there. I could have like the financial aid, I could find scholarships that, so I can go to college. And I know that here in the US, there's a lot of colleges like everywhere, so it will be more easier because in my hometown, there's only one college, and if you don't get in by the entrance exam, you pretty much cannot enter until next year. So it was, or going to college or start working. So when I come here to the US, I finished my high school and then I tried to find as many scholarships as I could so I could get financed, as I can, sorry, so I can be here at Concordia.
Okay, so you're like, hey, you know what, maybe I can do a lot of high involvement thinking to say, hey, I want the most money, scholarships, so it'll make it easier to go a particular school, right? that took a lot of searching around, a lot of applying to it, a lot of research, right? Looking around to figure out how would that look. Yeah.
So for me, I had broken my phone screen and it was like completely unusable. So I had to find like a cheaper version of my phone screen and like to make sure that company actually had my phone, like my type of phone in it, and then it was just like making sure to actually get there too.
Yeah. Is
And
that an iPhone?
no, it's an Android, so
Oh.
I definitely had to like go find like an actual like repair store and make sure that
Yeah.
they had it in there. And it costed like $150, but it cost way cheaper than actually buying a new phone.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had that happen, early on, cause I was like, oh, I don't wanna buy a phone and, the insurance, and I don't pay that every month. But then I quickly learned like, no, you gotta pay. You should have the insurance, cause these phones can break really easily and then you'd be stuck, paying a ridiculous amount of money just to get the screen repaired. Okay, anything you can think of over here?
Planning my spring break holiday, because I have to find the flight and then the hotel.
Okay, so flights back home, right?
No, I'm not going home for the holiday, I'm going in Mexico.
Oh, you're going to Mexico? Okay, awesome. You going to Mexico too?
No.
Okay.
Me, it was being here actually, because it's not, well, it was a difficult decision, because I was in Australia by the time. So I was just, do I want to leave my family again to be here?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money, and it was a big decision.
Did you need input from your family? Like, hey, what do you think? Yeah. And they all decided, like, no, I'll go.
Yeah.
So, one example I thought about, I kind of have the two sides of it, like, this is in terms of a job, summer job. There was one that I took which was like a maximizing mode, which was like 2 years ago. I did this like sales job where I moved out of the state to Montana and I stayed out there the whole summer. And
What part?
we kind of hit all the cities, so like Billings, kind of went around, but I feel like that one was really maximizing because it wasn't the most like enjoyable time, one could say, because I was doing like door to door, so it's not like the funnest thing in the world, but financially it was a lot better for the next year to come, right?
Gotcha.
So I kind of didn't get the satisfying.
Yeah. It wasn't immediate gratification, but in
Yeah.
the long term, you're like, it'll work out better.
For sure, yeah, because it was like, I didn't get to really practice my sport, which I care about, because I had like no time to do that, and normally summer's a big time for that.
Yeah.
And then not being around family or friends, so then flipped to like the next summer, I chose to like stay out here with my friends, and I worked at like Walmart, so it was like a lot more casual, but like obviously then paying tuition and stuff, so it was like,
Yeah.
two sides of it.
Yeah, big decisions to make. I think even once you start making money, you make great money, it comes with a lot of stress. And then you still gotta start making other decisions, right? Cause first you think of, oh, I don't have money, I need a ton of money, you get the job, and like, oh, your salary, you're like, what does that mean? It means you're gonna work as long as we tell you to work, right? You don't have an hourly schedule. You work 80 hours a week, right? We need you to work, and like, well, I see my family, or well, like, have money to spend, time to spend the money. Like, you won't, but you got the money, you get the paycheck, right? And so you start to see that these things, it changes as we sort of have new experiences. Anything you can think of?
Yeah, so like when I was deciding between like going to university, so like if I want to start off at community college or just go like straight into a 4-year. So what I think for me was like, I think there's kind of a perception I had about like community college. I think there's just like a stigma about it, like that's like it's inferior to like a 4-year university, like you don't get the most out of it. But I think that they kind of influenced me because I was like leaning more towards like going like that, like I had to go to a 4-year. But when like, so I applied to Trident, which is like 7 minutes away from me, but like when I applied there, like I got like a scholarship, so I was like, it's a no-brainer that I'm gonna go there because it's like I'm getting 3 years of tuition, so like I had to go there.
Yeah.
Like regardless of what how the school is, but yeah, it didn't turn out that bad. So
Yeah, like you think about it, like, oh, do I spend an extra $60,000 just for the first 2 years of college when I could go to a junior college, a community college, and only spend $10,000? Or maybe I could go for free because they offer me, give me some grants or scholarship. Yeah, maybe in the long term, like, oh, that's a no-brainer. Who wants to have all that debt? Okay, good. Let's see what we got before we do our blurbs. We'll end here, just so we can get everybody up. All right, so who wants to go first? We'll start this here and work our way around. All right. Okay. No problem.
So my blurb is that recently I purchased a video game, which was a pretty old video game, but I had always wanted, this game, but it was pretty expensive at the time, and I could justify paying for it, but I just never got around to it. It didn't really seem, practical at the moment. Then, I go on to game store the other night, and I'm like, man, there's a sale. This thing's like $5 right now. It used to be 50. So then I started thinking I should do this more often. Keep these things that I find enjoyable now, but then keep them in mind for the future because the prices will only drop as more stuff comes out.
Yeah.
So I think that's my blurb. It's just maybe being more patient with decisions instead of diving headfirst into every impulse financially I get. So yeah, I think that's my blurb.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, good job. $50 versus 5. How long ago was it 50 before you got it 5?
5, 6 years ago.
Okay. But what was the gap in between from when you saw it for 50 and bought it for 5?
Probably 4 years.
Okay.
so my verb is recently I saw nerds the candy. Yeah,
Nerds?
Yeah, the candy.
Yeah.
So I recently read an article that they're doing pretty well in sales, and a big part of that is because they released a new a couple years ago they released a new candy called it's gummy clusters but basically it's like a gummy but it's encoded with nerds. So the reason why it's pretty popular is because it's when you eat it I had it, it's a good tasting experience because you have a good crunch from the candy and then from the chewiness from the nerd. That way I did see it was doing pretty well, and then I think on Super Bowl I think they had a commercial I think.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Just to promote it. That's how well it's doing. That
Yeah.
Have that. All right. Yeah, excellent. Because you're hey, it tastes different
Yeah.
than any other candy. The way that they made it kind of crunchy on the
Yeah.
outside. Okay, excellent. My kids love nerds. When we go to the movies, we always stop at Walgreens and rack up on all the candy, sneak it. Oh, here is
Because I'm taking online marketing class, and there was this chapter in the book who talked about how data is collected from consumer and everything. And I was on Instagram and I saw it's not an ad, but it's a prevention campaign for what you put on, on your social media accounts and everything.
What you share online is like a digital footprint that will follow me around for the rest of my life. I'm telling you this because I know you love me and would never do anything to harm me. So please, Mom, please, Dad, protect my virtual privacy.
That's great.
What are your thoughts on this? Tim?
So, actually, when we were getting ready for the semester at public safety, we had a police officer come in, kind of talking through things with us, and she showed us that exact video, and kind of was like, "This is a thing that's happening now, and it's something that you might have to help with at some point." And so to kind of keep an eye on like stuff like this, or other ways that people kind of manipulate technology to get things from you, get money, whatever.
Interesting. Anybody else? Any thoughts on this? Yes.
No, I did not see this video, so it's definitely interesting. So I'm definitely gonna like tell my mom to be like, hey, let's just remove all of the baby pictures that you posted on Facebook, like even just years ago,
Yeah.
because they can still be used.
Yeah, it could be on the dark web, you don't know, right? For some horrible reasons. Yeah. Thank you for
And the
this.
most disturbing thing is that it was on Instagram, so.
Yeah, right, you're like, of all things, it's on social media.
Yeah.
That you got it. Alright, thank you. But think of how exposed we all are, right? How we all be edited AI, and they be, you know, they get videos of us, like, use their voice. Manipulate their voice and call, have your information, hey, we know who your sister is. You listed all your family members on Facebook and Instagram. We know your mom, your sister, we can call them, manipulate the voice and pretend like it's you. Like, hey mom, can you cash at me $300? Oh, what's your new, I got a new cash app, blah, 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 blah. Fake one, right? Save you some money.
That reminds me of when like celebrities like now are being like there was AI images of them, like of nude images of like, oh, what's her name? She played in the Wednesday show. I can't remember her name. And then there was some like Selena Gomez, and there's just a whole bunch of like nude pictures going around, and obviously they're not posting it.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy.
Something I noticed is people buying more and more blind boxes, so they want to make a collection, like it's little boxes and with a little figure on it, and then you have some collection, like you have the work collection, or the dance collection, the sport collection.
What is a blind box?
Like you don't know which one you're going to get.
Oh, it's just like a mystery.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, so you have 6 figures to collect, but you don't know which one you're getting unless you open it.
So is it the curiosity of?
Yeah, and then because they want to collect, and then there is also the secret one. So people they buy it, and then they buy a lot more of them that they showed if they saw what it was, because there are 6 of them plus the secret one. So they only buy 6 box, then they have the chance to get one box
An
time.
extra one.
Yeah, so they have to buy again to get the collection.
Yeah, which is interesting. Remember when we talked about class about operant conditioning, we said positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement? Kind of like the casino gambling effect?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I got it, oh, this is a cool box, but I don't know what I'm gonna get next time. I might be satisfied, I might not. And so like, that schedules of reinforcement where it's random, you can't predict what's gonna happen next, creates addiction. That's how addiction actually occurs. Right? And so you kind of hear, like, people are buying blind boxes because, almost like the TikTok effects. We don't know what the next video will be, but the last one satisfied us, so we want to go ahead and still see what the next one is.
Yeah, and sometimes they just want to buy one, but then they see all of the possibilities and say, oh, maybe I wanted this one, so I will buy another one.
Yeah.
And then it's like
More and more and more.
yeah. And then you have the secret one, so then you also want to get the secret one.
Yeah, and the thing about the secret one is a goal.
Yeah, it's
Right,
more,
in your mind,
yeah.
like, your goal is to get that secret.
Yeah, and you don't know what it looks like, and you know it's not a lot of people get them, so you just.
Yeah, that's awesome, thank you. That's like rewards program. Imagine if you're like 3 coffees away from Dunkin' Donuts and get a free coffee. The next 3 places you go to get coffee from is Dunkin' Donuts, right? Cause you're like, I'm gonna get one for free. I would save $4. or McDonald's or something else.
Mine is shoppable posts, and you've probably seen them everywhere on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I could keep going. Like, it's just like you think it's a post, and then that little highlighted section comes up, and it takes you to either the website of the brand, or it takes you, like, you're still in the app, but it takes you to the checkout. It allows the social media users to shop directly from the social media platforms. 60% of online shoppers feel the urge to buy the product from the source after seeing the post, even if they aren't actually like wanting to shop. 50% of the internet users look for videos related to the product even before visiting the shop. And I've definitely been part of that 50% because I've seen something on TikTok when I thought it was a regular video and then it happened to be an actual like the sponsored product, and I definitely bought it.
Excellent. I mean, you think about this, like, just the imagery can make you mentally, like, think of these products, right? Or something similar, like, oh yeah, actually I am kind of hungry for that. I could use an extra, whatever the case may be, right? Coffee or something of the sort. And then I wonder too, if the way that they position everything on there, that allows for people to mistakenly hit the button and take them to the checkout, and if that increases sales just off like mistakes of clicking, any sort of variance by mistake.
There's definitely been like a few apps, a few like posts where I've definitely like accidentally clicked on it, and like the last one where it just takes me on, like it added to my cart and automatically. And it's like continue shopping.
Yeah.
And it would take you to the actual like website with that item still in your cart. So you
Yeah.
can continue shopping.
Yeah, and then, you know, then again, your algorithm is gonna have more of the stuff regardless of your doing. All right, excellent, thank you. Anybody over here? Good.
So last night I read an article about a lot of the plane crashes that have been happening recently, and basically asking the question of, is this an unusual amount or is it just getting a lot more news attention? And the conclusion the article came to is basically that it's getting more news attention now than it has in the past. There were 68 plane crashes in January this year, which is the lowest ever in the month of January. And amongst that, there were only 10 that had anyone who's fatally wounded, which is obviously terrible. Anyone dying in any amount of plane crashes is a bad thing. We want to keep that low. But that was also a near record low. And so the article kind of was saying that while obviously this is still bad, there's still a lot of plane crashes happening, it's getting blown out of proportion a little bit, and I think this is in part because of the new presidency and how they're cutting back on costs, and they did that to whoever's in charge of the traveling and all that, and so it can kind of feed into that narrative to help one side of politics more than the other.
Okay, so basically, we think that more plane crashes are happening, but they're not. Fewer plane crashes are happening each year. But since we know that the media is the fourth arm of government, the media is tagging on these incidents that we had, and exacerbating them, so to kind of frighten either travelers or say it's because of federal cuts in spending with the FAA, airlines, DEI, all that stuff that has something to do with that.
Yeah.
Now, do you think because of the maybe, on the flip side, like, do you think it's legitimate that we pay attention to because of the locations that these crashes is happening? Like, the one where it flipped over was Toronto, the one in DC, right? And then there was another one, I think Philadelphia or something like that. Do you think that has to do with, like, location of where these crashes happen? And if there was some random place we wouldn't?
I definitely think that the places where they happen plays a big role in it,
Mhm.
especially with the one being in DC.
In DC.
That's a big deal. That'll probably get coverage regardless of
Yeah.
when it's happening. I thought the one was it Toronto?
Toronto where it flipped over?
Yeah, that one, it surprised me initially, because when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's gonna be in the US. And
Yeah.
when I saw it was in Toronto, I was like, interesting,
Yeah.
that's not on us necessarily.
Well, yeah. Oh, well, it left from Minneapolis. But,
Yeah.
but I can see your point there. Any of your thoughts? Do you think, like, is it frightening you to fly? Are you scared to fly? Those of you who are getting ready to take your trips? No? Not one bit, right? What about over here? It concerns you, right? Right, who knows, right? But definitely the media is making money off this stuff, right? So we always have to consider that, but, yeah, the other things, I don't know. But thank you for sharing. Nothing? Okay. All right, everyone. That was it for today. I will see you next week. On Tuesday.